But are we sure that Fernando Mendoza will be the Raiders' franchise quarterback? Coach?
Thinking about this, it just depends on how we're defining franchise quarterback. Are we looking at it sort of as that first tier where it's the Patrick Mahomes, the Joe Burrows, the Lamar, like that level of franchise quarterback, or then there's the next level?
10-year starter. Trevor Lawrence level.
Well, yeah, and
Whoa,
Trevor's an
that
MVP.
sounded nobody got a contract and they're happy.
but that's exactly what I'm talking about.
that's
It's that other level of quarterback. You know, there is Dak Prescott, the Dak
Yes.
Prescott.
Oh, yeah.
Trevor Lawrence. Would you be happy with Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah, thrilled.
I don't know.
Thrilled
If you'd be thrilled with it. You know, you get into that second contract with a guy, you think that he's going to give you a chance to lead you to a championship, and you know we're going to have to see with Trevor Lawrence. But that's where I see him landing more so than that top tier of guy. And he, as a player comparison, he kind of reminds me of Chad Pennington. So I had Chad in New York, and Chad, the year that he was drafted, he was the first quarterback drafted in that class. Now, Brady was drafted a little bit later in that class, but Chad was drafted as the first guy. He was 13-0 in college, a little bit different conference. I get all that, but really good processor, really accurate passer, catchable ball, excellent leader, smart, all those things that you see in Mendoza. And he did give you a chance to compete for it. He just wasn't necessarily in that next tier of guys. So I think that he could be there for a long time. He could make them very competitive, but I don't necessarily see him being in that elite category.
Pennington's an interesting comp that I think makes sense. He's bigger, though, than Pennington, right?
He's 2 inches bigger than Chad is.
Because I'd be hesitant to say this about any quarterback coming out of college, because we've just seen so many ballyhooed Heisman winners, top picks.
Generational talent.
Right, not paying. I mean, Trevor Lawrence has come along.
Undefeated in high
school. But he's not what we thought, at least to this point.
Playoff game pretty early, man, big contract.
He's not what we thought he'd be.
Top 5 MVP this year.
But then Brock Purdy is a good quarterback. You know, so it's just so hard to predict. I do, though, think they're setting him up. I think, like you said, you named all his qualities. I think he does have qualities that you like. And then I like the fact that he's going to go in there and be behind Kirk Cousins for at least half the season, if not most of the season or all of it. I like that. So I think they're putting him in a good position to be a franchise quarterback. And if he's got the goods, I think they're setting him up well.
You know I like him.
That's what I wanted you to.
I think that winning is underrated in college. I like that Joe Burrow won at LSU. I like that he won with Indiana. J.J. McCarthy won, and I didn't see him throw the ball. So that one frustrating. And you know what I like?
Well, he didn't win.
You're talking about a national. You got to win a national championship.
No, I look. If the measurables work, great. And if the pro day is, you know, all the pro days are the same. But if the measurables are good, that's one great thing. If the characters are great, like he's leadership and all of that is good. And then if he actually wins, I like that.
Listen, the winning at Indiana does matter to me. And winning the way he won.
In a big game.
Right, and he's playing big in big games. I actually think, you know, Fernando Mendoza won some big games. I know that's like controversial opinion, but I like his disposition. I think that, and you guys know I don't like small quarterbacks, and I like big quarterbacks. And he's a big kid, and unlike where the other difference in Chad is, even at Marshall in college, Chad wasn't putting his body on the line quite as much. Tell me if you think I'm wrong, but he wasn't. To me, Mendoza, I don't know if he'll do it in the pros, but has a toughness of his running style that just shows a level of athleticism that is somewhat unique for the position. Not all that unique.
But you'd agree his level of athleticism and like the other guys that we talk about where he can really make a lot of plays with his feet. He can do enough to kind of escape, but he's really going to have to step up into the pocket and move around the pocket.
No, I don't think he will have like plus athleticism for athletic NFL quarterbacks. I agree with that. I also, though, So because other winners in college are Bryce Young and Mac Jones, who were first-round picks, and
I like both those guys.
I know you do,
but
I think
measurables aren't there for Bryce.
Measurables aren't there for Bryce. I don't know if they're quite, and I feel like the intangibles weren't quite there for Mac the way they are for this.
A little bit silly.
And I don't know how beloved he's been, but again, I'm not trying to pick on your guy. I look at though quarterbacks. I think we make a mistake when we're projecting the quarterbacks and look at them just within the class rather than in buckets of classes, like prospects over the last 5 years of quarterback drafts. And that's where my hesitation on Mendoza comes, in that and it's honestly, one of my concerns about Cam Ward were these guys the best quarterback that came out this year?
Fair concern.
But if we take the last 10 first-round quarterbacks, would they have been 7th and 9th?
Okay. Sports talk conversations they're so fascinating because we all agree to just talk, right? We all agree to probably consume these shows. We all agree to just have these conversations again and again and again. Predictions, we draw conclusions from the past on limited information. We watch a show like this, we listen to Nick Wright share his take-in. Mangini, say what you will about Mangini, but Mangini's been coaching the NFL for, a long time. He knows football. We got Wilds, we got Brew, we got Colin. We got Stephen F. Smith, Pat McAfee, a punter, it's all you have a random person like me. And it's so interesting because this is where now Nick is talking about looking at quarterbacks in buckets, right? In terms of the last 5 years, what would you do with a Mendoza when you put it all together? And it's just what this does is when you have so much time to just talk about one singular quarterback. And I understand what Mangini was talking about in terms of how are we defining a franchise quarterback? Because not too long ago when you said I'm a franchise player, right? Especially in basketball and whatnot, it meant you were elite. You were special. You're the franchise, you are the franchise, right? You are him. You are on Hall of Snorts, fame trajectory. Now we just have franchise quarterbacks that's are you just in the NFL for 10 years and we're not questioning every year should you be the starter? Should you not be the starter? Should you be benched? Should we trade you? And it's just okay. And I've said this so much, over the years, but it bears worth, it's worth repeating specifically to the Raiders because I haven't been able to share this take with the Raiders franchise, with the fan base and whatnot. Is that it matters less about how truly elite your quarterback is and just how elite you are run. Because we can talk about we can say that Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, right? Better than Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, Jalen Hurts, Jimmy Garoppolo. And yet those other quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts especially, went to multiple Super Bowls, won the Super Bowl. Brock Purdy going to 2 NFC championship games and the Super Bowl. Jimmy Garoppolo getting to the Super Bowl. Sam Darnold winning the Super Bowl. I forget what other random quarterback I used. I think that was all of them. And yet Joe Burrow can't get back. Lamar Jackson has never been to a Super Bowl. Josh Allen has never been to a Super Bowl. And we do know though that when you are truly that next level of a quarterback and your team is well run with coaching and defense, etc., then you have Tom Brady and the Patriots, Kansas City Chiefs, and Mahomes. And there is that truly next level. Historical greatness. But at the end of the day, it's I forget, who was the quarterback? Was it Garcia? Who's the quarterback that won with the Bucs when they smoked the Eagles? I think that was the third time they lost in the NFC Championship game. I forget who they beat even, honestly, at this point. But pretty sure that who the Bucs won the Super Bowl before Peyton Manning and whatnot. I mean Eli Manning, he definitely elevated and played great in Super Bowls especially, but nobody was calling him this elite. Nobody was oh my gosh, we got to face Eli Manning this weekend. Like, oh no. Right? And so it's just like it really is so fascinating that like if you're a quarterback in the NFL and you do play for like 10 years with a team, you win a Super Bowl, like it's technically a victory. It's technically like, yeah, we won a Super Bowl. Because it's like the vast majority of these quarterbacks, the Hall of Famers, the truly special ones, sometimes won't even win a Super Bowl, but for the ones that do, it's like they win a Super Bowl or two. It's an incredibly rare company to win 3, 4, right? Like it's incredibly rare. So, just winning one is like, okay, we got that Super Bowl. That's great. Like it's and again, you obviously want more. Right? But like at the end of the day, like just getting that one and yet like we consistently see these other franchises, these other quarterbacks, win and be competitive and be right there in the hunt. And even the truly elite quarterbacks like Stafford, Mahomes, Allen, you know, all the names, we still see how incredibly hard it is. Patrick Mahomes is elite quarterback. His roster wasn't as great as it was in years past, and what happened? He didn't even make the playoffs. He literally didn't even make the playoffs. And that's with Patrick Mahomes. Tom Brady, didn't he go on like a 10-year drought? I mean, he played for so long, who can keep up, but it was like pretty sure it was like a 10-year drought. So, it's just what do you know, the whole idea of like how elite. And that's why I said like as long as Mendoza is just Kirk Cousins. Like this is actually kind of funny that this is the conversation that they're having because like I aired out this take probably a few weeks ago, I guess at this point, where I'm just like if Mendoza is just Kirk Cousins, the infrastructure of this team, the coaching staff, how well I believe this team is run now, it's a home run. It's a great you're a contender year after year after year. Now, will you be able to break through? Will you be able to win a Super Bowl, maybe 2? Right? Like there's so many other factors at play. How healthy are you? Does the ball bounce your way? Do you hit that 58-yard field goal? Does the other team miss that 45-yard field goal? How good is Mahomes at this point? Josh Allen, Lamar. Do the Broncos actually elevate and become a great team? Do the Chargers crash and burn? Like there's just other factors. A lot of times then it becomes and people don't talk about this enough, but it's also like what else is going on around the league right now? Are there any other great quarterbacks, but they have terrible coaches or their team keeps getting injured because the defense or the O-line's not good or they have an elite receiver, but he went down and, had a hamstring, strain or whatever? Like there's just a million other factors that really ultimately gets you from either 1 Super Bowl to 3 Super Bowls, right? Like there's a ton of factors at play. A ton. But that's why it's just like what can you do to consistently put yourself in a position to just be able to compete, to be able to win. That ultimately starts with how well run your franchise is. Now, don't get me wrong, you can be a great quarterback and elevate that and still kind of put your team in a position to win, but like it's going to be hard to win. It's going to be hard. You have a better chance of winning a Super Bowl with a team that is well run and a Kirk Cousins level quarterback than having a team that is poorly run, poorly coached, but you have an elite Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar. I think that's just so obvious at this point. I think we've just seen too many examples of all the different variations of that statement. So, to me, it becomes the wrong question. And so then when we want to now take Nick's approach, which I'm not even saying it's a bad approach. I'm just like we got to look at all the quarterbacks over these years and like where would Mendoza be? Would he be like 8th or 9th? And it's just kind of like it doesn't matter at that point. Let's say yes, if Mendoza and Caleb Williams were in the same draft, everybody would pick on Caleb over Mendoza. Let's say that's true, and it probably is true. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The most recent quarterbacks that I think that truly proved that were actually Sam Darnold, Jalen Hurts, and Brock Purdy. 2 of them obviously won Super Bowls. 1 of them went to multiple Super Bowls. And yet it's just like if we had a draft, right? If we look at the basket of the bucket of quarterbacks right now, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, like everybody is picking those quarterbacks over those other quarterbacks. And yet again, Jalen Hurts went to 2 Super Bowls. And I know I have a higher opinion of Jalen Hurts than maybe other people, but like I'm confident more people are picking Justin Herbert. I'm sure right now more people are picking Sam Darnold, etc. So, it's just like it's all about, is your floor good enough? If you truly reach that next level of eliteness, well then it's really just like, okay, well how good of a team, how well run are you? Do you get a little bit of luck within the division, etc., etc.? Yeah, and you can win like 3, 4 Super Bowls. But just even look at Patrick Mahomes right now. They obviously went on an absolutely unbelievable run, and I don't necessarily think it's over. I don't, I'm not burying the Chiefs by any stretch of the imagination. But obviously the Raiders full well know what the Chiefs have been up to. Clear's throat, they won 3 Super Bowls. And think about how you're taking advantage. Like Nick does not believe Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback. Nick does not believe Brock Purdy is a good quarterback. And he does not believe Jimmy Garoppolo is a good quarterback. And yet like those are the 3 wins that Patrick Mahomes had to go up against. And sure he had to maybe beat like a Lamar or a Josh or like a Joe Burrow in the, throughout the playoffs, but it's just like the Bengals were a disaster of a run team. They're a Lamar Jackson at Baltimore Raven team consistently comes up short. Consistently comes up short. And we already know all the historic battles between Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. And so it's just like and imagine if the Ravens were as well run as the Eagles or the Bills were as well run as the Rams. Is Patrick Mahomes able to just run through the AFC year after? Of course not. We saw what Patrick Mahomes did against the Philadelphia Eagles. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. So, it's just you need so many other factors at play even when we're talking about the modern NFL. So, Eerie not even going back to like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. Like the most recent version of the NFL, the most recent of the best version and the highest accomplishment, Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, and yet it's still like really difficult to win. You're still taking advantage of inferior talent, lesser quarterback play, etc., etc. Like it is a major luxury and a major gift. I don't care who you have to beat in the AFC to get to the Super Bowl. If you're going up against Jimmy Garoppolo, that's a real luxury to have. It is a real luxury to have. It's a lot different if you had to go up against Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford. Heck, we saw what you did against Tom Brady. Didn't win. So, this stuff is hard even for the franchise quarterbacks as Jenny would describe it. And then trying to now bring down Mendoza or try to add context because we're saying, well, let's look at all the quarterbacks of the last 5 years. Where would we draft Mendoza? And it's just like I think that just gets us farther away from the appropriate conversation to have, personally. I think that conversation is like on one side it's thought-provoking, it's interesting, and that's why when I kind of opened up just like we all agree to have these conversations in sports talk where we're just like, let's just look at it through all the different lenses. Let's just kind of go on rants and random deep dives and just, keep talking sports for the sake of keep alking. And I love that, and I appreciate it, and I'm grateful for it, but I still think sometimes it can do us a disservice because it's a little bit easier for us just to simply have the wrong conversation. I don't need to figure out where Mendoza would rank if we're drafting Trevor Lawrence, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, right? If we're looking at the bucket of quarterbacks the most, in the last 4 or 5 years or whatever. Like it's irrelevant to me. It simply does not matter. And we saw what happens with all those quarterbacks over the last 5 years. We saw what happens depending on where they get drafted, the levels of success that they have. We see that all the varying degrees of success is so dependent on how good is your team. How good is your coach? Does your GM know how to support you when he recognizes, okay, this team wasn't good enough your rookie year? I'm now going to make a change. I'm going to fire this coach. I'm going to hire this coordinator. I'm going to draft this, left tackle, whatever it may be. We know those things matter. We know those things matter. So, those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Las Vegas Raiders, Mendoza? Do you think it's clear that he will be a franchise quarterback? Do you think we're having the right discussion around Mendoza? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment. So, whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. Please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really does help visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.